And the next 30 minutes here on Newsnight. Tonight, Parliament defers consideration of controversial e-levy as Finance Minister pleads for more time for consultation. But the NDC minority say they have not been consulted as they take on Ken Uforiatta for allegedly ignoring the NDC MPs in his engagements.
Mr. Speaker, let me state, as a matter of fact, throughout this period of the recess, we on this side were never consulted or talked to. Now, the House of Parliament cannot get time to do consultation, but the minister should be allowed a whole week to go and do. It is this attitude that creates the unnecessary tension and the unnecessary behavior that we all see.
We're live in Parliament where the leadership have been apologizing to the public for dragging the name of the House into disrepute with last year's violent clashes on the floor of the House. Also tonight, Minority Leader calls on government to declare the Apiachi explosion that claimed 14 lives in the Western region a national disaster and marshal the necessary state resources to bring relief to the victims.
And to prey on government to deal with this as a national emergency and mobilize appropriate resources, not promises.
We are live in the affected zone where we're learning tonight that the Psychiatric Association of Ghana says its preliminary assessment of the victims following the explosion has revealed some of them are contemplating suicide.
And in business, government rules out reviewing the 20% quarterly expenditure cuts irrespective of the revenue performance.
Also later, the Ghana Integrity Initiative worried Ghana is not making any progress on the Corruption Perception Index as the latest report shows Ghana has stagnated and received the same score as that of last year.
We remained on the same 43 as scored last year. The 10-year analysis that was done shows that there has been a stagnation.
We have details plus a comparative analysis of the trends in President Akufo-Addo's government compared to that of his predecessor, John Mahama, where Akufo-Addo's best is John Mahama's worst. You want to stay with us for that and more here on Newsnight. Well, the Finance Minister, Ken Uforiatta, has been pleading for more time to consult more broadly on the controversial e-levy and has tonight forced Parliament to defer consideration of the bill on its first day back from recess. The last time the bill came to the floor, it led to a violent clash between MPs. Today, Majority Leader Evans Mensah announced the bill will come before the House next week.
Speaker, as honourable members will recall, the House was expected to conclude consideration and passing of the Electronic Transfer Levy Bill 2021 by the end of the third meeting of the first session. Due to unforeseen circumstances, however, the House was unable to consider and pass the bill at the end of the meeting. It was therefore within the contemplation of the Business Committee that the bill will be scheduled for consideration by the House during the first week of the first meeting of the second session. However, upon consultation with the sponsoring minister, the committee is not able to program same for this week after resumption. Honorable Minister for Finance has undertaken further engagement with stakeholders and sections of the general public in respect of some concerns that have been raised on the bill. The committee would, in all probability, Speaker, program the bill for consideration during the second week of this meeting. And honourable members are therefore encouraged to participate fully in the consideration and conclusion of the processes of the passage of the bill for the benefit of the economy.
Well, the NDC minority members are accusing the Finance Minister of ignoring Parliament and in particular NDC MPs in his consultations. They want the e-levy withdrawn and proper consultations done with Parliament itself. Listen to Muntaka Mubarak, who is a minority chief whip.
The chairman of the Business Committee is indicating that the Finance Minister is sorting or seeking to get ample time to go and further consult. Mr. Speaker, let me state, as a matter of fact, throughout this period of the recess, We on this side were never consulted or talked to about this, about the electronic transfer levy bill. And Mr. Speaker, at the Committee of Finance, our side of this House requested that as part of the practice of this House and supported by the Constitution and the standing orders, we should open up for people to bring memoranda for the engagement, and we said there was no time. But now we are giving time to the Minister of Finance at his request. We should wait for him to do consultation, but we cannot even give this House time to consult. Now, the House of Parliament cannot get time to do consultation, but the Minister should be allowed a whole week to go and do. And then he comes to tell us in his consultation what he has seen or he has heard. Why are we not, this committee, only not going to make time for this House, and for that matter, the Finance Committee, to engage the public? So that, yes, because this is how we carried bills in this House. It is this attitude that creates the unnecessary tension and the unnecessary behavior that we all see, which we all condemn.
I want to go to Parliament now. Let me bring in my parliamentary correspondent very briefly, Parker Wilson. Parker, you've been on the floor today since Parliament resumed. Is there any indication that these consultations that the Finance Minister has indicated would include Parliament?
Well, it wasn't too clear whether the Finance Minister would consult Parliament, particularly the minority. And this point was strongly enforced by the Communications Minister, Eslo Usu, when she rose to challenge the position of the minority chief, Muntaka Mubarak. Now, her point was that, or she argued, based on the fact that in the last meeting, the Finance Minister requested the audience of the minority leadership at the caucus for him to engage them further on this e-levy. But these individuals shut it down. So she sought to suggest that now that you're calling for further consultation, what has changed? The minister came, gave the opportunity, and yet you denied him of say.
So as we speak right now, at least it's not on the agenda, not obviously.
No, for now, the focus, as we understand, is with the electorate, helping them or appreciate the impact, the need of this e-levy, what it seeks to do and what it seeks to cure. So that is the focus. But I must say that the majority leader, such as Mr. Bonsu, however, indicated that there is nothing wrong if Parliament should be given the opportunity to consult, or if the Finance Minister himself will be around to consult. What they know is that next week, the bill will be introduced into the House for the consideration. And this is after they have extensively engaged the ordinary Ghanaian who perhaps lacks appreciation of the e-levy.
Okay, Parker, stay with me. Let me bring in the minority chief whip, Mr. Muntaka Mubarak himself. Mr. Mubarak, thank you for your time here on Newsnight.
Good evening to you and the listeners, Evans.
On the request you made today for the consultations to include Parliament, hasn't that ship sailed long time ago? The committee you referred to, the Finance Committee, had already considered the bill and has recommended its approval.
Yeah, you remember that was done by the majority of the consultation coming to withdraw the bill, because the bill has been presented to Parliament already. So what is he going to consult on? And also this also shows the neglect, as we've consistently been saying, that he has not consulted, he has not involved the general public, the relevant stakeholders, and then they rushed to bring the bill. Now the bill has been brought to the House, and they wanted it to go under certificate of urgency. And believe me, if it was the 7th Parliament where they had 169 and we were 106, they would not even be here talking about this, because they will have finished. So what has called for him now saying that he's going to consult? He's going to consult who? And then when the committee, at the committee level, we requested that, look, can we take our time, let this bill go through the normal process? And the normal process is that you advertise for people who have interests, like the telecos, the fintechs, the vendors, the general public, people to bring their concern, how they think it may affect them. So all that could impact the outcome or the report of the committee. They said, no, they're in a hurry. Now he, the finance minister, having brought the bill, if the condition has started, he thinks that, okay, wait, give me 1 week, I'm going to consult. So when he finished consulting, is he coming to withdraw the bill and relay? Or how is it going to impact on the work that we are already doing? That was why I was also calling that if you look at our constitution, Article 1064, that is the responsibility of Parliament to do. That when the bill is before us, we will inquire in real details. And the only way you can get these inquiries in real details is to open it up, allow other experts to talk to you, allow other opposing views to be heard, rather than what the finance minister has brought. Then it helps you to to make a decision with informed decision. But this is not being done. So you see, I used the word on the floor, and I was forced to withdraw it. I said that this tricks. Because it's like there's something you are doing, you are with the greatest of respect and without malice. Like you are just playing with people's mind, wanting to create an impression that, something is being happening. And like I said on the floor, for the whole of this over 1 month that we're on recess, I mean, nobody bothered to engage us, nobody bothered to talk to us, and what have you. And what my colleague Honorable Osla was saying was with regards to the budget. And she just comparing apple and orange. Because the budget, after it has gone through all the process, on the day of approving the budget, then the Prime Minister comes and say that, on those issues that you have raised, can I get time to consult? I mean, you've presented the budget for more than 3 weeks. You didn't do all those. All of a sudden, now you say you want to consult.
But in terms of consulting Parliament,
and now you have brought the bill, and the bill is different from the budget.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of consulting Parliament, isn't the fact that both sides have entrenched positions and any consultations is fruitless? I mean, we've heard even before today's commencement of parliamentary sitting, both sides saying we're going to use our numbers. So what's the point of consulting again in Parliament when we both know the positions of both sides?
I agree with you. That's the poster, that's all the programs that we're having. Because you look at a lot of headings today. I haven't heard the information minister directly, but I've seen a lot of headings. We are not backing down on the 1.75 e-levy. Yesterday on your own network, I heard the Deputy Minister for Finance, my colleague Honorable John Kuma. We are going to go ahead with the e-levy and the form and manner that it is. When you say this, what do you expect the minority to say? I said, okay, we know that it's a democracy. In a democracy, when you jojo and you think that after the jojo you vote, we said, fine, come with your 138 and vote. How to mobilize it and come and vote has been your challenge. Because for us, there are a lot of things that we can use our standard order and constitution to do. If you want to just go majority-minority, the days where you have excessive majority, where you just run over, it's over. This
you accept,
so
very finally, you
call for a vote.
Exactly. You accept that is what it will come down to. This whole thing will come down to.
If they are not willing to really, truly, and sincerely engage. Because with the greatest of respect, and like I said, without any malice, you see that like almost all the things that they are doing and saying are just like playing on our minds, but not sincerely interested in trying to sit down and let's look at. Because for me, I was telling one of them today, is it your interest to raise 6.9 billion, or it is for you to just tax the transactions on this e-levy or Momo regardless? The person couldn't answer. And I said, if your concern is how to close the gap of 6.9, we have suggested about 3-4 things that you can do. One, I mean, there were so many things.
I recall you.
We'll talk about the waiver. We'll talk about the POS.
I recall you laid out
reducing waste.
You laid out these alternatives just before the break, but you've indicated there's been no consultation since the break. But I appreciate that you joined us with your thoughts on this, Muntaka Mubarak. Just run out of time on this, and as we just heard tonight, this is going to come up next week. You said it's certainly going to go down to a vote. We wait to see how that plays out once it comes. That's Muntaka Mubarak. He is the minority chief whip there. Parker is still with me because today both sides, the leadership, they've been apologizing to the public on the back of the violent clashes that we saw just before Parliament went on recess. Both the majority leader, the minority leader and the speaker who took full responsibility, because he says whoever was acting whilst he was away was acting on his authority. Parker, very briefly, today there was unanimity that the actions that Parliament witnessed before the break was appalling, and every side was very apologetic.
That's correct, Evans. In fact, the leadership of the House, that's the minority and the majority leader, were unhappy with the acrimonious scenes and the physical attacks we saw in the last meeting. And it was the hope of the two leaders that going forward, members will shun away from that practice. Parliament is an avenue where they use the force of argument and not physical fight or attack against each other.
Parker, thank you very much. You're still listening to News 90 on Joy 99.7 FM. I want to stay in Parliament, but just a little slant to it. On the back of that devastating explosion in Apiati in the Western region, the parliamentarians took time today to commiserate with the families of the deceased and injured. We'll be hearing from the minority leader, Haruna Drisu, who is asking the government to declare it a national disaster, allowing it to mobilize enough resources for those affected.
We want to convey our hearty condolences to those who lost their lives and to pray for the good health of those who are recovering, and to pray on government to deal with this as a national emergency and mobilize appropriate resources, not promises, for the people of Apiati, especially their immediate resettlement, for the restoration of deserved livelihood for the people there. When we travel there, we would also know the state of roads in that area that they also go through.
Well, his call comes on the heels of the Psychiatric Association of Ghana's preliminary assessment of victims of the explosion. I can say now that we can speak to the president of the association, Dr. Ruth Owusu-Entwi. She joins us on the telephone line right now. Doc, thank you for your time here on Newsline. We're hearing some very grim results from that assessment, including people contemplating suicide.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for having me. As you are aware, the members of the Psychiatric Association of Ghana went to AKT yesterday to do a preliminary assessment of the mental health impact of this explosion, and some of the findings are very worrying. You rightly said so, that there are some of the survivors who are thinking about suicide, who are contemplating suicide. I said earlier that there was one particular woman whose reason for contemplating suicide was that she was the one that went into the house and got the husband's phone to go and video the initial incident. And she brought back the phone to him, and then the husband never returned. She is starting to blame herself, and she thinks her life is not worth living. And there are several other stories like that, and people think that they have lost their entire sense and source of living in this explosion, and that it's better they are dead than to be alive.
What are you recommending now on the back of what you found as a result of the assessment you've done?
So we got to see all the 900 people, but in most of the cases we saw them in groups. It was after the group session that we decided to give individual intervention to the severely affected. But looking at the individual stories that we heard, I think each person in the community should get some mental health assessment and intervention. And because of the numbers involved, we will need a lot of resources, human resource, as well as monetary resource to be able to achieve that. If we're able to do that, we would prevent severe mental disorders in the near future.
Thank you very much. That's the president of the Psychiatric Association of Ghana, Dr. Ruth Owusu. I want to take you to ground zero now. Let me bring in Maxwell Wagba, who's been there for us all throughout. Maxwell, give us a very quick update on the situation on the ground, the relief items. We know a lot have arrived, the temporary shelters all complete.
Exactly, Evans. So we are putting finishing touches to the new shelter that is being prepared for those who have been displaced by the explosion. Yesterday, when we spoke to the MC, he told us that that is about 80% complete. Earlier in the day, we were there, and one of the workers told us that now it's about 90% complete. So it's just the finishing touches they are putting to work. And, some of the displaced persons we've been interacting with tell us that they cannot wait to move to the new location because they have been told that that's a more comfortable place for them. So many of them are looking forward, to that, especially also because it's a bit away from town. The current shelter is a bit in the center of town, so sometimes you have a lot of people who do not have any business in the shelter getting into the shelter. But this new one is away from town, and we're told that it's very close to their farmlands. So more comfortable place, for them. And so the final touches of the work still ongoing there. But today we were again at the shelter that houses them, St. Michael Catholic Church, and we continue to hear some really heartbreaking stories. So just about like 1 hour ago, I met a woman, a 19-year-old girl, who had come to the health personnel there with a baby for her wounds to be dressed. And this is just a 1-month-old baby. And we were told that she was in the room, and then the building collapsed on her, and she was later picked from under the rubble. And she sustained a lot of injuries on her face. 1-month-old baby. We had the Chief Executive Officer of the State Interest and Governance Authority. He was there with some other heads of state agencies. He held the baby in his hands, and Ambassador Edward Boateng couldn't hold back his tears. You could see that he really wanted to cry, but he had to hold back. So these are some heartbreaking stories we continue to hear and see here in Apintia.
Maxwell, thank you very much. You're still listening to News Studies on Joy 99.7 FM, and George is joining me with business. Hello, George.
Hi, Evans. And coming up in business, we hear from the Finance Ministry, which is ruling out reviewing the 20% quarterly expenditure cuts, irrespective of revenue performance for each quarter and even this year. And government to expedite work on the Western Railway projects to aid transportation of mining operations in that region. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials, and Allianz Life. Let's now settle for the details. Now, government has maintained that it has no intention of reviewing the proposed cut in quarterly expenditure estimates, irrespective of the revenue performance. Now, there are fears that government could review the policy if revenue numbers doesn't improve. But the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Charles Edouboyin, says they are committed to fully implementing this policy.
What we are saying is that, look, regardless of whether the revenue materializes or not, we are cutting expenditure by 20%. So every quarter, when we do our budget allotments, we'll do the resource envelope we'll provide to the MMDAs will be 20% less than usual. And the 20% is informed by the nature of our expenditures. There are quite a lot of rigidities in our expenditure budgets. You can't cut interest expense and you can't cut compensation. You also have statutory payments and transfers which are automatic, essentially DACF, get fund. So that then limits the amount in there that is flexible, and that's what informs the 20% cut that we've announced.
Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Charles Edouboyin. Demand for dollars is still high despite the recent stability of the Ghana cedi and favorable outlook for the local currency. The Bank of Ghana's forward sale of dollars today showed that while the regulator sold $75 million, requests from banks and businesses stood at $235 million. It was the expectation that the demand would start declining based on forecasts the local currency could be stabilizing going forward because of some positive investor reaction to the fiscal outlook of government program. Now, trading today showed that there was a slight pickup also in pressure on the Ghana cedi in terms of the interbank trade and performance on the currency market. Now, government says it will finalize documentation for all railway line in the western region for potential contractors before the end of this year. That's the assurance coming from Railway Minister John Peter over calls for improved railway services to aid transportation of mining exploration and activities in that region. The minister tells Joy Business they are committed to closing the deal before the close of this year.
By the close of this year, the whole of the Western Line will be under contract, which means that we can transport both freight and passengers right down from Takoradi to Nyinahini. And along that section, where the mining activities are more witnessed. So you are right. If the railway is in place, some of this explosive can equally be transported by the railway line. And His Excellency is determined that we speed up the construction of the rail line as quickly as possible. And you can see it yourself. The expenditure that in terms of quantum of monies that we've put into the infrastructure during the first term of His Excellency is unprecedented.
And he spoke to Joy Business after inaugurating the 10-member board of the Ghana Railway Company Limited here in Accra. To the stock market, if you're an investor in Fan Milk, you lost 38 pesos in each share held and is now worth 3 Ghana cedis, 57 pesos. If you look at the financial stocks, you've just seen some appreciation of just under 1% on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Evans, you were talking about the Ghana cedi.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's frightening, I mean, it's 6.5.
6.45, that's the average you can get.
I mean, at this rate, just this year alone, it looks like in the next few weeks, we're going to approach 6.9, 6.7.
It depends. We've seen some stability just over the past 3 or 4 days, and you were expecting that it might continue because what was pushing that sudden pressure was some investors who were selling their bonds and demanding dollars, and that decision has been frozen a little bit because of this decision by government to cut expenditure by 20%. So if these investors are holding on to selling their bonds, that will minimize the pressure on the Ghana cedi. Now it's left to deal with those businesses that are looking for dollars to finance their imports to restock. And it looks like the fast rate of depreciation is slowing a little bit.
Joe, thank you very much. Now, the Ghana Integrity Initiative says Ghana has stagnated on the Corruption Perception Index. Now, the results for 2021, which was just released, shows that Ghana scored 43 out of 100, the same points as it did for 2020. Ghana placed 9th in Africa and 73rd globally, according to Mary Ada, who's Programs Officer at the Ghana Integrity Initiative, the Ghana chapter of Transparency International, who put this index together. The slow progress by the country on the subject is pretty worrying.
We remained on the same 43 as we scored last year. I must quickly add that the 10-year analysis that was done shows that there has been a stagnation, and we can actually also indicate that there is a negative trend, about a 2-point dip when you do the decade analysis in Ghana's fight against corruption. This is not too different from what pertains in the regional level and also globally. We realize that the various analyses have shown a stagnation in the scores across the globe.
Okay, so let's analyze this a bit more quick. Who Asante joins me with details of this. Tell us what the trend analysis between the governments of Akufo-Addo and former President John Mahama is indicating. We're just looking at this broadly over time.
All right, Evan. So what we can see from the data is that if you look at what the former President John Dramani Mahama's government has been getting, what we can see from the documents from the Ghana Integrity Initiative is that in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, and then 2016, which were the period within which former President John Dramani Mahama was in office, the highest score was 48 and then a little bit of 47. The lowest around that period was 43. If you compare that to the current administration, which assumed office in 2017, the highest has been 43. That means the highest of this administration, 43 scores, is the same as the lowest that was scored under the erstwhile John Dramani Mahama administration. And so you look at the data.
So
and then
the previous government's best performance was 43.
43.
I mean, this current best performance is
43. The best
the former
performance.
The best performance for the former government was 48.
48.
The
And
best
the
performance
worst of that administration was 43, which actually becomes the best for the current administration. And so you look at the data, you look that we have actually been on a downward trajectory, because since we had 43 in 2016, we've actually not gone beyond that. It's been the highest we've gotten since 2016. It's actually been 43. We went 40 in 2017. In 2018 and 2019, we got the same numbers. And then for 2020 and then 2021, the same figures, 43.
But the graph shows that from 2017, when they had the lowest of 40, climbed to 40, 41,
41,
stayed at 41.
Then it goes up again. And
did
so
a
if
bit
you look
better.
at that data from 2016, 2017, we're actually on an upward trajectory. From 40, 41, 43, we've been going up since then.
Okay. What has been government's reaction to this?
Right. So Kojopan Nkrumah has also actually been explaining this point by saying that they have actually been taking the figures very upward, because they took over in 2017, and the figures from 2017 is actually a reflection from 2016, and that was 40. And so from then, they have been making some upward trajectory, and they actually believe that they are going to put the figures back to the numbers that Ghanaians can be proud of.
Thank you very much, Kweku. So listening to News Night, it's on Joy 99.7 FM, and that's it for this 30 minutes edition. We'll be crossing over shortly, joining the lads because of the AFCON, with a big game coming up next here on Joy 99.7 FM. This is where you get the very latest live scores from the Africa Cup of Nations. We also have the latest for you from our team on the ground on the back of that stampede that led to several deaths in the host country of Cameroon. Stay with us. My name is Evans Mensah.